Greetings, Guardians, and welcome to another episode of Destiny 2 from scratch. So today I wanted to kind of do a recap and as well as a looking forward for like what the plans are to keep going with the account. We're still in the middle of the can you complete the battle pass in 3 weeks thing. 15 hours is kind of out of the question. We're already looking at something like 12 that I've played all week, and we're about level 50, so there's still a lot of work to do. We've unlocked all of the destinations in the game. We've done all of the first story missions you have to do for all of the different campaigns in order to unlock them and gain access to a lot of like the rudimentary stuff for the game. And we've played a lot of Dares of Eternity, Vanguard, and a pretty decent amount of Crucible and a lot of Gambit. And thanks to that, we've started to accrue a pretty decent amount of loot, started to get some decent armor and get some cool weapons and really start to flesh our loadout out. We've also gone through and we've done the ADA 1 transmog missions. So now we can do her missions and unlock transmogs to start to decorate our armor. Right now I haven't like done it yet, but I want to make like a whole video about picking our style and doing our fashion. Right now we'll just keep working on unlocking transmogs and getting skins and getting weapons. So I guess we'll just open up with a nice little account review and take a look at what we've got. On our character, we're on our way up to 100 resilience. One of the obvious big blockers is that we don't have the upgraded armorer mod, so we can only get +5 resil per armor piece. Once we get the upgraded one, we'll be able to get +10 per armor piece, and we'll definitely be into the 100s. Obviously, it's better to have armor like this with really high resiliency stats at base, so that we don't have to like compensate for the lack of resiliency stat with the mod. But for now, you do what you gotta do. Lacking the grenade energy also sucks because it heavily limits a lot of our damage output, especially when playing the Arc Titan, which is primarily known for its grenade output. It's using Storm Grenade to kind of like blow everything away. With a low discipline stat, as you can see, the grenade cooldown is about 2 minutes. I've run a couple of mods, these firepower mods, to help push it over the line, and use the bomber mod so that class abilities give me grenade energy, and some of my weapons run with Wellspring, but it still takes a really long time to get the grenade back. And the goal, at least with the Arc Titan, is to have your grenade back really quickly, like 10 seconds, 15 seconds if you can. On my main account, that's actually what mine is set up. On my main account, that's actually what mine is set up to do, and it's really strong. So it's something that we'll have to work on as doing the build. One of the easier builds to do in the game is actually the Solar Titan, and so we might mess around with using the Solar Titan to overcome some of the challenges that we have ahead that we really want to tackle. Having a reliable loadout with really good damage output is something that you definitely need to start dealing with higher level content in the game. We haven't been able to do Nightfalls the last couple of weeks because they've been DLC bound and we're currently on a free-to-play account. So next week, when I believe it's Fallen Saber, which needs no DLC to play, we'll be able to do the Nightfalls and we'll see how well we hold up with our current loadout. Hopefully by then we'll have completed the crafting mission on Mars. It's technically just the Witch Queen's throne world, but they're actually on the planet Mars. And when that's done, we should have our crafted Typhon. We should also have a crafted shotgun, which I'm working on right now. And this Amit AR2 is really good as well. I don't know if we'll use this weapon specifically, but depending on the content we're going through, we'll get to play around with this a lot more. Depending on champions, boss type, how big the mobs are that we need to kill, and really what we're trying to do. So building a solid loadout will be really fun, supplementing it with some crafted and some non-crafted, and really being able to move around and be really flexible. I think it's gonna be the most important thing with doing our loadout. All right, something else worth looking at is our vault. So we finally do have a pretty decent collection of weapons and a really good variety as well. We've managed to gather a good number of exotics. Some of these are from ZUR on the weekends, and some of these are just from story missions like the Risk Runner, and others are random drops. So we received Merciless as a random drop. This one is from the BANSHEE website. If you go there after making an account, this will actually be given to you for free. This one we also bought from ZUR, and this is from the battle pass. So we're starting to get there. We need some better exotic armor, but we're getting there. So it's actually been really fun. Rebuilding a weapon library. So I hope you guys are also having fun with it. I think this is really enjoyable. You'll end up using guns and things that you generally wouldn't use, especially if you're like a veteran like I am and playing for a while, and you kind of get stuck in your ways. Starting a new account will really help you push and do different things throughout your time playing. Something else worth looking at is here. The Exotic Archive, Monument to Lost Lights. Here is where we can actually purchase exotic weapons. And this will be one of the best ways to get exotic weapons that you specifically need for some parts of the game. As you can see, all exotic weapons require some specific currency, so they'll all require Glimmer and at least until next season, they'll require some planetary materials and an Ascended Shard. Ascended Shards are kind of hard to come by as a new player, but you can pick up one up from Rahul by trading in a bunch of legendary shards. And so it's really expensive to do, but if you're looking for a weapon from this exotic kiosk that you think could actually make the difference in your game, I think it's really worth it. At the beginning of the season, I would have said it's definitely worth to grab the Le Monarch. Because it was an anti-champion bow meta, having the Le Monarch made it so it was really easy to deal with overload champions. But with the season coming to an end, next season likely will have different champions, so I would say it's good to just start stockpiling materials and content so that you can choose your exotic for next season based on the champion mods that are being used. There are a lot of really good general use exotics throughout here as well, and I would say definitely take some time to go through and look around and pick what you need. I think it's also worth it to check out YouTube videos and really get a grasp of what all this stuff does. There's a lot of really fun stuff here. There's a lot of really just cool, unique stuff to play around with. But looking at the meta in the game and then also looking at what you might find fun is always more important, I think, than just picking randomly. So do make sure to take some time and check out the Monument to Lost Lights and look around for some cool gear you might want. Something else that's really cool here is you can look at legacy gear. And here, if you have a Ascended Shard, you can actually pick up, curated god rolls of weapons from past seasons. And so this can also be another good way to build out your library. The problem is it requires an Ascended Shard and enhanced prisms, and if you're new, it can be a little hard to acquire those materials. But once you do start acquiring them, this will really help you further expand your library of weapons. I use this as one of my anti-champion weapons, and I definitely think it was really worth it this season. Again, going into next season, it'll be worth keeping your eye out on the legendary and the exotics here for what weapons to pick up based on what the new anti-champion mods are and what the new season has in store. And so keep your eye out, gather your materials, hoard them like a goblin, and come pick up something really cool. You can do it now if you just happen to have enough and you're really excited about trying out some of the old weapons that were really good, or if you really want to make sure that you have the perfect role for one of your weapons for anti-champion next season. And now I want to share with you one of my greatest achievements on this account, and that is getting the half-truths. What's incredible about this weapon is we managed to get one with Eager Edge. So now we have access to this really cool movement mechanic in the game, and it was pretty insane luck that we were able to get it. So you can see we can actually move around the map way faster now. I might be breaking because they nerfed it recently, but it's really fun and I really enjoy it. I think it's just a ton of fun, especially when just farming and just running around makes the movement of the game a bit more exciting. And so what you're looking for is when doing Dares of Eternity, you're looking for a halves truth or the other half that has Eager Edge. Gain increased sword lunge distance immediately after switching to this weapon. And that's really cool. So if we switch to this weapon, you see Eager Edge was proc to the left, but if we swing now, it's a lot shorter of a jump. Shit, out of ammo, BRB. Okay, we have it now. So you run, jump, swing, dash. And look at how far we got. But if I just switch to it, Eager Edge is on, and now that it's off, jump, swing, you see it's a lot shorter of a jump. But give it a second to come off cooldown. Run, jump, swing. Really cool, really fun. I'm glad we have it on the account. It's one of the funnest things in the game to me. So, the weapon you're looking for, the halves truths or the other half sword with an Eager Edge perk roll on it. In order to do this, you want to run while you do not have the sword equipped. So you want anything but the sword equipped. Run, jump, switch to sword, swing, switch off of sword, bam. So run, jump, swing, switch. You try doing the jump without it. It's actually still doable, which is kind of funny. So that's really cool, and I'm actually super excited to have that back. So hopefully you guys can play some dares and get the sword as well. I think it's really fun. I enjoy the mechanic a lot. So you can see we have a bunch of guardians hanging out here. And that's because this is today's legendary lost sector. It rotates daily, and each day there'll be a different weapon or not weapon, sorry, armor piece that it will reward. The problem is it drops 1 in 4 on legend and master difficulty, and this can be pretty hard if you're new to the game. So that's one thing we're definitely going to be targeting right now, is getting really solid exotic armor pieces for each of our builds and trying to get a really good stat roll on each one of them. But because we can't see a flag that'll be here, we have to complete the lost sector. So it'll be worth going through the game and completing all of the lost sectors so that when the weekly one comes around, or daily, you can do it without needing to be like slowed. Generally though, these are kind of short, especially this one. This one is notoriously short, lost sector. So we want to go through it, clear it out, and then come back through and do the official lost sector run. All right, and now the lost sector is done. So as you can see, that was actually kind of tough. This is like the super casual version of the lost sector, and it was still kind of challenging. I had to be really safe and actually had to use my shield a lot to make sure I wasn't getting run down by enemies. I could have played it better, but I think it also has to do with some like weaker weapon loadouts. And I think I mentioned it earlier, but I think one of the big things is always going to be because I'm using the Arc Titan build, not being able to spam my grenades indefinitely starts to decrease my DPS by a lot, especially dealing with beefier enemies who are a bit tougher and harder to put down. Now, part of that's because I'm not running like a shotgun or a fusion rifle, but if I had those weapons loaded out, it would be a little bit easier to deal with them. And again, if I had the grenade, it'd be even easier. So here you go, flags here, and now when you get close enough to it, it'll tell you what's going on. So it will have champions that are barrier and unstoppable. This means on your arms, you will want these seasonal mods for anti-barrier and unstoppable. So this is overload. Because there are no overloads, I can put unstoppable pulse. And this way you can stun the champions, and each champion will have like its own collection of buffs. And by stunning them, you get rid of those buffs and make them a lot easier to kill. You also see that it has burn solar. That means solar deals more damage throughout the lost sector, to yourself and to the enemies. The shields are void, which means you need something to break void shields, and modifiers pestilence is a specific type of mod, so it makes the enemies do something different when you're there. I don't know them all off the top of my head, but this usually will make it just a little more difficult. On top of all of that, you'll have locked equipment, so you can't change your loadout once you're inside. So it becomes really important to have a super solid loadout and a super solid plan for dealing with the lost sectors. Right now, our loadout isn't quite that strong. As you see, we'll need a pulse rifle, so we have pulse. And for the anti-bears, we need an auto rifle, which is an auto rifle. But as you saw before, it was kind of hard to kill the trash mobs with just these two guns. Now, partly because this is 1350, so it brought my light down. So we would want to go through and look for a really strong auto rifle that we think could do a better job. But we could run something like this. It's auto pulse, and then this will be like our damage dealer. We could also use the Wardcliff coil that we got from ZUR the other day as well as a damage dealer. It's a little dangerous because the explosion is really close to your face, so maybe you could try and mess around with a different type of rocket launcher that can help put the champions down. And so that's basically one of our really big goals right now, is to be able to farm these and get the exotic armor pieces we need to help glue our builds together. Right now we're using the Cross of the Falling Star, which is cool. It gives our Arc Ultimate a lot more damage, but it's not super insane in general play. So we'll get to use our ult probably once throughout the Lost Sector, and we really want an exotic that can help us the entire time we're doing Lost Sectors and the entire time we're doing dungeons. So while nice, it doesn't really cover all of our bases. Good for like boss DPS though. And this is cool for using a solar build. This gives you your solar abilities back, and it gives you your solar, if you have your solar super up. So this can kind of be like a budget Heart of Inmost Light, which is really cool for using a solar build. But I feel like solar builds don't usually need their abilities as much, especially if you're using the bonk hammer. So one thing we're going to want to do next as well on this account is really explore those types of builds and challenge a lot of these lost sectors, get some good exotics to further push our builds, and to make sure that we're as strong as we can get. On top of that, we want to also keep farming for weapons, farming for crafted weapons, and making sure that we can overcome a lot of this like sort of small but still really important like content in the game, so we can move on to dungeons and raids. And I think the overall goal will be to make it so that you are ready to LFG, so that you can go online, join a raid group, join a fire team, and be the best guardian you can be to work with them, and or even start your own LFGs and guilds. I think one last note is to make sure you are gathering your planetary materials. As you can see, we struggle with Glimmer a lot on new accounts, and the best way to get Glimmer is by gathering planetary materials and trading them in at Rahul for Glimmer. So he'll trade something like 20 Duskite Shard for 10,000 Glimmer, and each day he rotates between 2 different planetary materials he'll take. Next season, which is in about 2 weeks, the planetary material trade will change drastically. And so if you have anything accrued right now, you want to make sure you're checking Rahul daily so that you can try to get some Glimmer, so we can finish buying our fragments and buying all of the abilities for each of the subclasses, and making sure we can keep buying our mods from Ada. Also, don't forget to turn in rewards. These are from ZUR. This one's also from ZUR at the Eternity. And so this is how we're kind of accruing our legendary loot, is by doing these playlist activities. And then playlist activities gives us some really cool rewards. So that's all I've got for you guys today. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the recap. I hope you guys like our plan, which is to start taking on legend lost sectors and getting good exotic armor while we continue to farm our weapons. Please make sure to check Ada every day. Make sure to check Rahul for his Glimmer exchange every day, and check your Banshee 404 for his mods and his weapon loadouts. You never know what cool stuff you might find there. So, thanks for watching, and have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Peace out, Guardians.